Good morning. I'm Michael Bendner with the Christian Left blog, the first of its kind, established in 2004. This is the original reaction to Dobbs versus Jackson from June 24th, the day after Roe was repealed. So Justice Alito claims that states should have the power to make moral choices for its citizens. He missed the point of privacy. Abortion is one of those issues where the question is how invested one is in bacon and eggs for breakfast. Those who have a moral view of abortion are the chicken. Those whose morals are being challenged by the state are more invested, like the pig. Alito argues that the states must be given power to decide this issue. The states have historically done a bad job of this, which is why we have the 14th Amendment. The argument for letting states decide on abortion rights is akin to letting the states decide about slavery or the question of who is and who is not a citizen under the law after slavery was defeated, with that defeat settled on Juneteenth by the Union Army. Alito makes a mistake of the Confederacy. He also cites the rejection of Plessy while adopting the state power logic, which is the theory of the case in Plessy. The irony is thick. Time and again, states acting as moral centers have made the wrong choice. Indeed, surveys on American attitudes about the rights of their neighbors consistently show that no one would have rights if they were voted on. This is the whole point of having rights that legislation cannot challenge, as legislators are usually the well of the combined moral biases of the voters. As such, Justice Alito's moral argument is entirely unconvincing and off base. Justice Alito would include in his analysis the interests of the child. It is a legitimate question, but it is the province of Congress, not the states, to make this determination. They are now likely to do so, although this will be next year, as between this decision and the insurrection, the Republicans have less of a chance of recapturing the majority or even existing than they did a week before Roe was overturned. The justices do not understand viability as a standard, although Justice Brennan hints at it in Chapter 9 of Roe. The 14th Amendment is explicit that the rights of the unborn start at birth, or the ability to be born. Justice Alito ignores the central question of rights, which is the power of the states. Calling pre-viability children a seat of rights has the implication on how abortion must be regulated. And as his examples indicate, if the fetus or the little person is recognized as a seat of rights, then abortion cannot be regulated as a right or a medical procedure. In other words, you can't have it both ways. If you think abortion is killing, then you've got to treat it like killing. You can't just say, oh, let's let the states regulate abortion or consider abortion a right. No, it's a bigger game than that. The role of government in enforcing these rights must be implicated. Can the mother be held harmless in arranging for an abortion? The pro-life authorities who have written since the passage of Roe indicate she need not be. This is not how rights work or due process. Unless all contract killings hold the contract issue are harmless, the government may not do so with women. Donald Trump had it right when he said, yes, of course you'd have to punish women. Then he was taken to the woodshed and said, no, you don't say that. So if the child is a person, then the loss of life must trigger medical and criminal review. This implies that pregnancies must be registered, as births are now, and that women who have lost pregnancies are subject to questioning, lest the claim of a natural miscarriage is hiding an illegal abortion. That such questioning can occur shocks the conscience to the same extent that abortion does. You will understand that if you've been in a marriage or relationship where a miscarriage has occurred. Especially the first one, the emotions are raw. Now imagine somebody knocking on your door wanting to interview you. Yeah, that's a non-starter. While the anti-abortion side insists that prosecutorial discretion will keep this from happening, the American experience shows that time and again, politically ambitious prosecutors cannot be trusted in these matters. It is not hard to imagine a prosecutor seeking conservative votes getting tough on women who have had abortions or may have had abortions. The reason that abortion must be seen as a right is to remove the possibility of such misused discretion. The 20-week milestone is more appropriate than the reversal of Roe because the risk of miscarriage is virtually zero after that point. After this point, should termination of pregnancy be necessary, the termination should only be by induction rather than the more gruesome methods. I mean, I can agree that the gruesome methods do shock the conscience, but just don't do the abusive methods. Don't take away the need to have the child be born. The exceptions to the 20-week milestone would be the province of Congress, not the states. So it shouldn't be state by state, as we've said with slavery and segregation. In a way, the unborn already have certain rights. The right to life is not the right not to be murdered. It is the right not to be executed without due process of law. There's nothing in the Constitution that says you can't be murdered. The government protects the rights of the unborn by not executing women who may or may not be found to be pregnant. The Federal Unborn Victims of Violence Act concedes an exception for abortion while recognizing the rights of the child against those who would harm its mother. The question to be considered then is whether the child has a claim on rights against the rights of the mother. In other words, can it say, "Mommy, I have a right, and I can make the government do it for me"? The opinion does not address this question, although it is essential. It needs to be addressed. Likewise, the question was not argued in this case. It will be argued when the case is reheard once Justice Thomas is no longer on the court, which, given the activities of his wife on the insurrection, may be sooner than later. So, the author of the concurring opinion of Justice Roberts is more likely than not to accept the logic presented here. So he'll vote to rehear. The whole point of stare decisis is to do so such things don't happen. In other words, so stupid opinions aren't delivered without being thought through. Justice Alito has hit the fuse for the reconsideration of his own ruling. So, yeah, it's there will be more to come on this issue, as we will be discussing. I've made a comment as well. Alito's argument is predicated on the fact that the states which would ban abortion don't perform that many anyway, nor do their populations support abortion rights. He is counting on the fact that we are as numb to the plight of women as most Northerners were to the plight of slaves. Sadly, that was probably the case, but we have grown as a culture. So, yes, this issue will be heard. It will be considered. It must be bipartisan, as I've said before, and there will be no fugitive womb act, because there are states who want to make it illegal to travel for an abortion. Yeah, let's call those attempts the Fugitive Womb Act. Just say that from the start, and it'll show the insanity of all that is happening in this case to date. Stay tuned. More to come.